Hey everyone, it's Carol again, and just so you know, we're starting the cooking lessons, the first of 48 cooking lessons that are going to take you from I've never stepped foot in a kitchen all the way to being the person that says, everybody come to my house for Thanksgiving dinner and I'm going to make the feast from start to finish. I'll be in front of the camera during the cooking lessons, but Alex is here with me behind the camera because I don't know how any of that stuff works. So we're both doing what we're the best at. So today, let's get right to it. Mise En Place, cooking lesson number 1. Again, we want to start you as if you've never entered into a kitchen or you're intimidated by it. So the first cooking lesson is actually what any good French cook learns, which is everything in its place. Why is that, Mise En Place? If you don't start well prepared with everything in its place, it is much more likely that you are going to not only make a mistake and potentially ruin the meal that you're about to prepare, but that you're going to grow frustrated in the kitchen and feel like it's not something that you can do successfully, so then you're not interested in doing it at all. And in the common sense transformation, we cannot stress enough, cooking the majority of your meals at home is fundamental and foundational for your health. So we want to do everything that we can do to make you as successful in this arena as possible. For those of you that cook far better than I do, these are just enjoyable little short cooking lessons and you can kind of go through them at your pace because everything in this program is on demand for you to access. So Mise En Place, everything in its place. I'm about to bake some cookies. So what I want to do is first get my recipe and read it. Not once, I want to read it twice. First, I want to read it through looking for any kind of hidden time pockets and also any ingredients. Do I have everything? Because there's nothing worse than getting partway through a recipe and discovering you don't have anything. So first I read through it and I discover that yes, this dough indeed does need 2 hours to chill before I pop it in the oven. So then I know there's no reason to preheat the oven to 350 at the start. I know that I need 2 hours for it to rest in the refrigerator before I do that. Second, I go through and make sure, do I have every single ingredient? And do I have all of the tools necessary to make this recipe a success? Once I've determined that, I move on to the next step, which is gathering all of my ingredients to make sure that everything's on hand, and then I measure what I can measure so that when assembly takes place, I have everything at hand ready to go. In a baking recipe, that may or may not be as important, but let's say you're sauteing some onions and then they tell you to add the garlic. So you go ahead and add the garlic. Garlic will brown in about 30 seconds. It will burn and ruin your recipe in about a minute. So if you throw the garlic in the hot oil and then you have to go find beef broth because it's not at hand, chances are the garlic is destroying your dish on the stovetop while you search. So it's just best to have everything in its place. I know that this is Alex's favorite tip from Mise En Place because we talk about it a lot, but one of the best things to do in your cooking to ensure that you don't make a number of mistakes is to keep your kitchen space tidy and clean. So as you move through the recipe, you clean up what you were just doing so that you can move on to the next and not be working in clutter and chaos. So one of the things that I always do is I have a trash receptacle that I keep right here. I keep it behind my island, and when I'm done chopping, I can just move this over, brush all the debris into my trash can, and have it over. If I get done with a bowl, cracking eggs, separating eggs, I would go ahead and take that and remove it to my sink. Not rinse it or wash it, just get it out of the space where I'm prepping and preparing my food so that I make sure that what's in front of me is what I need. The other reason that's an important step is because let's say you are baking like I am. Have you ever noticed in a baking recipe that everything is white? Flour, sugar, salt, baking soda, baking powder. And if you don't remove the last ingredient that you just added, there's a likelihood that you might either add the wrong thing, add it twice, or not remember if you did add it, and then you don't know where to go until after the recipe fails in the oven. I know I've done that a ton of times, so I've just gotten really disciplined about making sure that I measure everything out in the order that it goes in. As I add it, I remove it, and that way when my kids distract me, I come back and I'm like, oh, did I add the baking soda? I can look and see, yep, there's the baking soda. measurement bowl in my sink. It's added and I don't have to stress about it and know that the cookies will rise properly and that they'll come out and not taste like metal because I've added it twice. So that's cooking lesson number 1. Super simple. The number 1 takeaway from this, everything's in your textbook or in a PDF in your online materials, and you can go ahead and print that out. The number 1 thing from this is please read the recipe, not once. Read it twice to make sure that you are successful and that you gain confidence in the kitchen, because when we're confident and successful, we enjoy something more, and when we enjoy something, then we do it. I'll see you next week. It's knife skills, chopping, dicing, slicing, the kind of knives that you need in your kitchen, everything to make you safe. And see you next week. Good luck working on Habit 1. I hope that you're giving thanks at the majority of your meals. See you next week.